Question heard around a lot of water coolers these days. What happened to President Trump coming to the rescue of Iranians, as he stated in Truth Social posts at the start of the year? 3 months into the war with Iran, and a woman born and raised in the country sat down for an exclusive interview with CBS News 24/7 anchor Lindsey Reiser. This woman discusses how U.S. involvement hurt the people of Iran and what happened after President Donald Trump's infamous post about wiping out an entire civilization.
I was scared. I felt like I couldn't think. I felt this sense of terror take over my body. I thought about how, like, my family's there. I wouldn't know what would happen to them. Just all these innocent people, the culture, just it could all just be destroyed. I couldn't even think. I felt paralyzed.
How were they feeling?
They were scared too. They didn't know what was going to happen. We don't know. We don't know if he's actually going to do it. So they could have died at any moment. So they were like sitting in terror and fear.
Live to CBS News 24/7 anchor Lindsey Reiser, who landed that interview. I love that we're telling this story. It's the human stories behind the headlines. What did you learn, my friend?
Hey, Reed, thank you so much for having me, and it's so good to see you. Satari would only let us introduce her by her first name because she fears for the safety of her family still inside Iran. And her story is really fascinating, particularly as it pertains to the question, is this war really the answer for the people of Iran? Satari's story begins in Tehran, Iran's capital city. She could see the mountains, but also smell the diesel of the cars outside. And despite what the now 27-year-old was learning in school every day,
they would have us chant like death to America, death to Israel, just brainwash, like 15 to 20 minutes of brainwash on how like the United States is the enemy and it's evil.
Satari dreamed of one day coming to the U.S. with her parents.
My uncle had won a lottery, okay? And then he applied for my mom. And that process took 15 years. So from like my childhood, my mom was like, we're gonna move someday.
When she was 13, their day had come. Despite growing up in the upper middle class in Iran, they left everything they knew because of the conditions in their homeland.
There's no like future, there's no place to have a dream. As a woman, especially as a woman, you can't have a dream to do really anything with your life.
They moved to Plano, Texas, but despite their hopes and dreams, it wasn't exactly what she thought it would be.
You thought you were going to some metropolis.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, the beach and then the city, and I'm gonna see like Brad Pitt on the street.
But they settled in. Her parents got jobs at Walmart.
So it was just me and my parents in a one-bedroom all the way for like a good 4 or 5 years.
What was that like as a teenager in a one-bedroom apartment with your folks?
It was really hard. Me and my mom get into a lot of fights.
Satari made it through those teenage years and endured being on the receiving end of prejudice, she says, from her teachers, not fellow classmates.
We had this event where, like, at the pep rally, they had everybody from the ESL classes try to carry their country's flags, and I was embarrassed to carry mine because I knew that people were so not educated about my country and thought that it was its government or another country. So I didn't even want to do that at that time. I wasn't proud.
Looking back now, would you do that today?
Yes, 100%. I am so proud of my roots. I'm so proud to be Iranian. I'm so proud to be an Iranian woman, to see these women be so strong and risk their lives and sacrifice their lives for freedom.
Satari says when the war began, she thought now could be the day the government would be ousted, a new future for Iran.
Initially, we're like, yeah, war, like destroy the government. But, you know, as it starts to happen and you see like the consequences and you see like the other places getting bombed and how it affects like people's lives, you're like, okay, maybe I don't know if this is like the thing to do.
She's able to chat with one of her friends in Iran who has a VPN, a virtual private network that creates an encrypted connection. But her family doesn't feel comfortable speaking freely over the phone because they fear the government could be monitoring what they say. Satari knows the war has economic costs for them, too.
They're also experiencing the prices go up even more. Like they're having a hard time affording groceries and getting to places.
On April 7th, frustrated with the Iranian government not capitulating to his demands, President Trump made a jarring threat on social media. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again, he wrote. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will.
I was scared. I felt like I couldn't think. I felt this sense of terror take over my body. I thought about how, like, my family's there. I wouldn't know what would happen to them. Just all these innocent people, the culture, just it could all just be destroyed. I couldn't even think. I felt paralyzed.
How were they feeling?
They were scared too. They didn't know what was gonna happen. We don't know. We don't know if he's actually gonna do it. So they could have died at any moment. So they were like sitting in terror and fear.
Hours later that night, the president announced a ceasefire with Iran.
Everything is gone, including their leaders. Now they have a new set of leaders, and we find them very reasonable.
He calls that a regime change. You say that that's not true.
It's not.
Yes, the war might capture Maduro, might kill Ali Khamenei, but the regime is still there.
Masih Alinejad is an Iranian-American journalist and CBS News contributor and says the regime is as brutal as ever, punishing anyone who speaks out against it.
Their only crime was just simply joining the uprising.
Masih has long called for the ousting of the current regime, now led by Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed in the first night of Operation Epic Fury. Now she says it's clear to her this war is not enough to force that change.
I think we need a united coalition, not just America. I'm asking Europe. Where is Europe?
What outcome are you hoping for Iran?
A free Iran. I don't know if war is the way, but we all just want freedom, and we want people, like our people, to have basic human rights.
It's a sentiment her father, who didn't want to show his face for the same reason as Satare, agrees with.
You one day dream of going back to live in Iran?
Yes, but not in this brutal regime.
I moved to Texas in middle school, legally.
Satare has found an outlet today, stand-up comedy. She moved to New York last summer to pursue her passion and channel the challenges of her childhood into material and storytelling.
In Farsi, the only pronouns that we have is they, them. You know how hard it was for me to move here and learn she, he, just to go back to they, them? It feels like I'm taking my power back. You know, if I can find the funny and if I can laugh at it with everyone else, then it's just fine. It happened, you know, for a good reason. We're all laughing now.
Yeah, so Satare is 27. She grew up in Tehran, and she remembers her childhood. She remembers sort of the topography. There were mountains, but it was also a bustling city. And she also remembers growing up as a kid, and in school every day they were lined up and they were taught to say death to America. But even so, she and her family had this dream. She had an uncle who won the lottery. Her mother raised her saying, we are one day going to move to the United States. And it took a long time, but one day it happened. She was a preteen. They moved to Plano, Texas. Wasn't what she thought it was going to be. She thought it was going to be like this city, this metropolis. She was going to see Brad Pitt on the sidewalk. And of course, it wasn't. It was a more rural suburban lifestyle. But also her family lived an upper middle class lifestyle in Tehran. Her parents ended up in the U.S. getting jobs at Walmart just for that fresh start, to give their kids, their daughters, a chance, because they say in Iran, they didn't have a future. There were no freedoms in their life if they had stayed. And so they shared a one-bedroom apartment. She said that was kind of challenging as a teenager, as you can imagine, sharing a one-bedroom apartment with her parents. But, you know, she is so grateful. At the time when she was a kid, she said she wouldn't really feel proud to say she was Iranian, to talk about her background. She feels completely different now, Reed. She says she is so proud. She has seen the Iranian people speak out. And then that is where we get to this uprising, where the regime is still just as brutal, punishing people who are speaking out. And so when the president says this is a new regime, they're more reasonable, he has said that in the past in regards to the negotiations during the war, she says that's not true. They're just as brutal as ever. We talked to CBS News contributor Masih Alinejad. She also reiterated that the regime is as brutal as ever. It is their contention that there has been no regime change. And so remember, I know you remember this, Reed. This was in April when the president posted that tonight an entire civilization is going to die.
Right,
I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. She says she was terrified. We heard that in the right before you brought me in. We heard her say she was paralyzed with fear. The people who she loves, they didn't know what was going to happen. Is this going to happen? You know, do we need to say our goodbyes? Obviously, we have seen what has happened now. She doesn't know if this war is the answer to get to that regime change, to get to that future of Iran that they dream about, which is democracy. I talked to her dad, too. They all dream about being able to return to Iran, but not under the current regime. And one more thing, Reed. She has channeled all of that pain into stand-up comedy. She is rewriting the story for herself. She packed her bags and moved with one suitcase from Plano, Texas to New York City. She performs, she pet sits and couch surfs to make this dream a reality. And she really powerfully told me that essentially if we're all laughing, then we all win in the end.
Well, and I think these stories, you and I have this very same shared value. They humanize stories that otherwise seem so far away. And when we hear stories like hers, it brings it home that she's somebody, and she belongs to a family that she is so worried about. Lindsey Reiser, love that interview. Thank you so much. We appreciate getting to talk to you.